Every morning, roughly 8 billion people look into a mirror. They check their hair, their skin, the marks left by sleep. They see a face. And they believe, in some quiet way, that the face looking back is them. It is not. But we will come back to that. Imagine, starting today, the glass changes. Not the shape of mirrors, not the material. The rule changes. From this moment forward, every reflective surface on Earth shows something different. Not your face, not your clothes, your inner state, your anxieties, your secret hopes, the anger you are holding behind your eyes right now. All of it rendered visible in the glass. That is the world we are stepping into, and it does not go the way anyone expects. The first thing to understand is that this change is not uniform. Some people can read these new reflections clearly, the way you read text on a page. Others see almost nothing. The glass changes for everyone, but the ability to interpret what it shows is distributed unevenly across humanity. This is not a guess. It has a real-world parallel. A condition called alexithymia affects roughly 10% of the population, impairing the ability to identify and process emotional states in others. In this thought mirror world, that spectrum expands into something civilization-shaping. Call them readers and the perceptually blind. Both groups exist at every level of society, in every country, in every family. The line between them does not follow any pattern humans have organized around before. Keep that in mind. We will need it later. In the first hours, the effect is overwhelming. Public spaces become unbearable for millions of people. A subway platform in Tokyo, a shopping mall in Lagos, a train station in Berlin. Anywhere people gather and glance at walls, windows, shop fronts, any surface with even a partial reflection suddenly becomes a broadcast. Commuters catch glimpses of their own reflections and see things they did not expect to see, not monsters. Something quieter and more disturbing. The gap between how they feel and how they believed they felt. This is the first crack in the world. Psychologists have a name for the distance between our performed emotional state and our actual one. Emotional labor, a term coined by sociologist Arlie Hochschild in 1983. Her research showed that sustained performance of emotions we do not feel produces measurable psychological damage over time. Customer service workers, nurses, flight attendants, anyone whose job requires a managed face, carry a hidden cost in their nervous systems. In this new world, the mirror does not accept the managed face. It goes underneath it. And for the first time, everyone can see the labor. The social consequences arrive faster than any government is prepared for. Within days, public behavior shifts in ways that look, on the surface, like a sudden outbreak of honesty. People stop performing cheerfulness in settings where they were only ever performing it. Productivity drops in industries built on emotional pretense. Advertising, which has always worked by manufacturing aspirational feeling, fractures almost immediately. The smiling faces in commercials still exist, but when people look at any reflective surface nearby, including phone screens, the contrast between the ad and what they actually feel looking at it is suddenly legible. Here is where it gets strange. Beauty does not die. Beauty relocates. Throughout all of recorded history, standards of physical attractiveness have tracked one consistent principle. They migrate toward whatever is hardest to fake. In medieval Europe, pale skin signaled that a person never had to work outdoors. It was a display of indoor, wealthy life. By the 20th century, the signal flipped. A deep tan meant you had the leisure time to lie in the sun. The standard did not disappear. It found a new target. In this mirror world, the same mechanism activates within weeks. Calm becomes beautiful. Not performed calm, actual calm. Genuine emotional coherence, the state of a mind that is quiet and clear and undefended, begins to register in thought mirror reflections as something people want to look like. Within months, the wellness industry, already a $4 trillion global market, does not collapse. It transforms. Meditation centers fill beyond capacity. Pharmaceutical companies begin racing toward products that don't just suppress anxiety but actually resolve it, because suppression is now visible. A reflection that shows a mind straining to look calm is immediately readable to anyone with even moderate perceptual ability. The target of human vanity has not been destroyed, it has been upgraded, and this is the part most people never think about. The performance does not stop, it deepens. The old world had cosmetics. This world develops the equivalent for inner states. Cognitive sculpting markets, neurological aesthetic services, new social rituals developed first in wealthier urban centers, designed to produce genuine emotional states rather than mask false ones. Retreats that do not promise relaxation but actually deliver measurable mental clarity, because now the evidence is visible to anyone who can read it. Let's stay here for a moment. This is the point where it seems like equilibrium is forming. The shock fades, humanity adapts, a new normal settles. People who cannot project calm learn other strategies. People who can project it gain social currency. The readers gain influence. The perceptually blind lose ground in social hierarchies in ways that rhyme uncomfortably with every other form of invisible disadvantage in human history. But that is not the dangerous part. Here is what surfaces beneath the adaptation. The readers begin to disagree. Two people with strong perceptual ability stand in front of the same mirror, looking at the same reflection of a third person's inner state. They describe different things. One sees grief, the other sees relief. Both are certain. Neither is wrong. Exactly. They are reading the same signal through different nervous systems, different histories, different emotional vocabularies. Think about what that actually means. The mirror promised objectivity. It promised the real person, unfiltered. What it actually delivered was a signal that still requires a perceiver to interpret. The reading is not neutral. It never was. The truth the mirror supposedly shows is not a single truth. It is as many truths as there are people looking, and this is where the older, quieter problem resurfaces. Remember the detail from the beginning. The version of yourself you see in a standard flat mirror, the one you have looked at every day of your life, the one that feels most like you, is already a distortion. A flat mirror inverts your image left to right. No one else ever sees you that way. The version you know best is the reversed one, the one you have seen 10,000 times, the one that feels real because of sheer repetition. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect, documented rigorously by Robert Zajonc in 1968. We prefer things simply because we have seen them more. Studies consistently show people rate their mirror image as more attractive than photographs of themselves because the mirror reflection is the familiar version. The face you trust most is the one that matches what you have practiced seeing. Your whole life, the mirror has been flattering you through familiarity, not through accuracy. Now extend that to the thought mirror world. Within months, people begin practicing inner states for public reflection. Meditation, cognitive therapy, pharmaceutical intervention, neural feedback training, all aimed, at least in part, at projecting a more beautiful inner signal. They get good at it. Some get very good. Their reflections genuinely do show calm, clarity, coherence, and the readers look at those reflections and see something they call authentic. But how would they know the difference? The only standard available is the one they have developed through exposure. The calm they call genuine is the calm they have learned to recognize as genuine. The emotional coherence they call real is the signal they have seen most often, trained into their perception the same way a familiar face gets trained into recognition. Legislation scrambles to catch up. Chile passed the world's first Neurorights law in 2021, protecting mental privacy before such technology even exists. In this mirror world, that question scales to every country simultaneously. Can a reflection be used as evidence? Can an employer use what a thought mirror shows? Can a court? The infrastructure of privacy, built entirely on the assumption that inner states belong to the person who holds them, does not have answers ready. It was never built for this. The perceptually blind, the 10% who cannot read thought reflections clearly, occupy a strange position in this new world. They cannot be manipulated by the new vanity in the same way. They cannot read the signals others are performing. In some settings, this is a disadvantage. In others, they become valuable precisely because they are immune to the new social theater. Some governments, some corporations, some communities begin actively recruiting them, not despite their perceptual difference. Because of it, and beneath all of this, the deepest consequence continues quietly. Microexpressions documented by psychologist Paul Ekman last between 1/25th and 1/5 of a second. They are involuntary. They betray genuine emotional states even when every other signal is managed. The thought mirror world did not invent the leaking of inner states. It amplified something that was already happening, already partially visible to those trained to see it. The thought mirror world is not a sudden transformation of human nature. It is an acceleration of what was already true, which returns us to the question that opened all of this. Every morning, 8 billion people look into a mirror and believe they are seeing themselves. They are seeing a left-right reversal, softened by familiarity, filtered through the mere exposure effect, shaped by years of practiced self-perception. The reflection feels real because it is the version they have seen the most, not because it is the version that is most accurate. The thought mirror world strips that comfortable distortion away. People are furious, briefly. Then they rebuild it. They learn to perform inner states. They practice emotional clarity the same way previous generations practiced smiling for photographs. The target moves. The performance continues. Here is what that leaves unresolved. If a reflection can always be practiced, always be optimized, always be shaped by exposure and repetition, and the limits of the perceiver, then no mirror is showing anyone anything real. The current mirror flatters through familiarity. The thought mirror flatters through a different kind of familiarity, one we have not yet had long enough to recognize as flattery. The question is not what a mirror would show if it showed who you really are. The question is whether the concept of a true reflection is even coherent. Every surface that has ever shown you yourself has been showing you a version. Constructed, reversed, filtered, practiced. The idea that somewhere underneath all of that there is a fixed, legible, objective self waiting to be correctly reflected, that idea, not the mirror, is the deepest illusion of all.